started what year exactly?
1875.
1875, American watch brand. You know, today there's very few watches made in America. And even Bulova being headquartered in America, it's not completely American owned.
Mm-hmm.
The question I have is this, and I don't even know the answer exactly, because I wasn't really alive when there was a lot of American-made watches. If it was 1960, and someone had to say, the values of an American-made watch are this, what would they be? Especially different than the values of a Swiss-made watch.
Well, that's a really good question. The Swiss learned a lot from the Americans in how to build a properly made watch.
Right.
One of them would be interchangeable parts.
Oh.
Interchangeable parts for watches was invented by Waltham Watch Company. And Bulova took what Waltham did to a whole nother level. Right. Bulova was one of the first companies that created a spare part system so that private jewelers that did watch repair on site had a complement of parts on hand that they could fix a consumer's watch with factory-made parts so that they could get the customer back and running with the timepiece in a very short period of time.
What was the culture like when it came to owning multiple watches? I mean, it seems that because they weren't as collectible then, you wouldn't have the collector culture that you have today where guys have 5, 10, 20, 100 watches. What types of people had multiple watches and what would they be? Would it be like a dress watch and a sport watch, or how would they segment their collection?
Well, it depends on the collector, of course, but people that love watches, once you get the bug, once you're infected with this addiction, you want to have the coolest watch of every category. So I think that the answer is that some guys like to collect, you know, Breitling watches, or some guys like to collect a brand, let's say, but a real watch nut is interested in the finest watch of each category, and that would basically be the description of the kind of things that I like to do.
So the things today, in terms of those same emotions, were prevalent back 50, 60 years ago when watches were much more of a necessary tool. It's the same emotions at play.
For sure. I believe that you know, the excitement of owning a small device that divides time is very much like a miniature car for your wrist.
Right.
It brings that kind of pleasure to the end user. And let's face it, if you want to have accurate time, you could run over to Walmart and buy a watch for 20 bucks. And it's going to be a very accurate timekeeper. But that's all it will do.
Right.
And in today's world where you can view the time in dozens of places, whether it's your microwave, your phone, you name it, there's so many places you can view the time. Wristwatches are really not worn for their timekeeping necessity. They're worn basically because of the emotions that they bring back to the end user. So
what kind of watch guy are you? What complications do it for you? What are some of your favorite designs? I want to know what drives your watch passion.
I love really interesting movements.
Yeah.
So, you know, watches that have split-second chronograph. Mechanical split-second chronograph is one of my favorite categories of watch.
Why is that?
I'd say, arguably, it's the hardest movement to make. So it's much harder to make a watch of that style, that complication, than, let's say, a minute repeater.
So I don't think a lot of people know that. What makes, is that all chronographs or specifically a split second?
Split second is a tough movement.
Why is that so much harder than normal chronograph?
Well, because the internal parts, there's parts that lay on top of each other, and the connection that they make when they're engaged and disengaged is a very highly engineered part of the movement.
Right. So it's just difficult to get right.
It's very difficult to get right.
So let's go back to Bulova, because you've been the president now for just over a year now, year and a half?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. Mm-hmm. You came in there. What was the status of the company like when you came in?
139-year-old company that has a very broad distribution channel, that had a lot of great things going on in the company, and then an equally big part of the company that was churning out product that really didn't have a strong brand identity. Right.
And so you came in. What are some of the first things you said? I got to do this. These are some of my first projects I got to focus on. These are just crucial to my future vision of the brand.
Well, first of all, our parent company, a Japanese company by the name of Citizen, who is, if not the biggest, the second biggest movement manufacturer on earth, produced a class of movement called Precisionist that they inserted into the Bulova product development system in 2010,
right,
which is before I joined. And that movement is the cornerstone of Bulova's brand heritage. The reason why is Bulova's real cornerstone of technology and engineering has to do with high quality precise movements, like the Bulova Accutron, which was invented in 1959 and brought to market in 1960.